Welcome once again to Noir Alley. I'm Eddie Muller, coming to you from bar 355 in Oakland. It can get a little claustrophobic in here, especially when the joint is jumping, but it feels positively expansive compared to the location of today's film. Death Row is the setting for Black Tuesday, a cold-blooded crime thriller released in 1954 by United Artists. Released isn't exactly right. Busted out is more appropriate, since that's what vicious crook Vince Kennelly, played by Edward G. Robinson, plans to do on the day of his scheduled execution. Robinson originally blasted his way into movie history as gangster Rico Bandello in the 1931 classic Little Caesar, which led directly to his becoming one of America's most familiar faces and voices, as he reprised various versions of Rico during the 30s in a slew of films made at Warner Brothers. By the end of the decade, the mild-mannered intellectual art connoisseur had enough of playing snarling bulldogs in three-piece suits. His on-screen persona changed with the advent of the film noir movement. First, Billy Wilder cast Robinson, a mega star, in a supporting role in his 1944 thriller Double Indemnity as claims investigator Barton Keyes, a character whose only crime was smoking cheap cigars. Robinson then starred in Fritz Lang's The Woman in the Window, playing a mild-mannered intellectual art connoisseur whose life goes to hell when he falls for femme fatale Joan Bennett. After that, Robinson's stock in trade became vulnerable middle-aged milquetoast, trapped by fate, circumstance, or Joan Bennett. He made more than a dozen noir films over the next 10 years, and only rarely, like in 1948's Key Largo, did he return to the gangster stereotype that, frankly, he was sick of playing. But come the early 50s, Robinson's life of elegance and sophistication was taking a beating. His vigorous support of liberal causes led to his being branded a communist sympathizer, and after testifying before HUAC in 1952, he was gray-listed, considered off-limits for major roles at big studios. A looming alimony settlement from divorcing his wife Gladys led Robinson to sell off much of his art collection and pretty much forced him to accept any job offered, at far less pay than he made during his heyday. I provide this background as context for what you are about to see. Black Tuesday was made at the worst time in Robinson's life, when the world was kicking him every which way. It provided the fuel for what is the cruelest, angriest performance he ever gave. Despite his disdain for playing violent men, he must have relished being able to act out his vengeance, letting everybody have it with both barrels. The film is based on an original story by one of the essential noir screenwriters, Sidney Bohm. The former crime reporter wrote as many great noirs as anyone, including High Wall, Side Street, Union Station, and The Big Heat, among many others. Director Ugo Fregonese had been in Hollywood only 5 years, emigrating from Argentina, where he had begun his career in 1945. It was there he'd made another terrific prison picture, Hardly a Criminal, which the Film Noir Foundation was lucky enough to preserve before the original elements were lost. While he isn't as well known as many of his contemporaries, Fregonese's pictures are always unique and compelling, especially the three written by Sidney Bohm. Also making a huge contribution to this picture's grim tone is director of photography Stanley Cortez, a visual stylist who completed this assignment just before shooting The Night of the Hunter for Charles Lawton. You'll notice a unique texture to this picture. It was the first Hollywood feature shot with Kodak's new Tri-X film, which provided high-contrast images using far less light than was typically required. The picture also stars Gene Parker as Eddie G's loyal Moll, Peter Graves, and a whole bunch of actors familiar from their future television work. If you are feeling drowsy at all, just wait. There is no way you will doze off during the non-stop gun battle that erupts and continues non-stop for the last third of this film. As the studio said when it shipped this movie to theaters, get ready for the most ruthless Robinson of all time. Here is Black Tuesday.